And welcome back to Iron Sports. Now, with 9 medals combined across the Olympics and the World Athletics Championships, Dr. Gregory Haughton joins us on this edition of Iron Sports to discuss, well, a wide range of issues as it regards track and field, of course. Dr. Haughton still has the distinction of also being the last Jamaican man to win an individual medal in the 400 meters at the Olympic Games. Of course, this took place in Sydney 2000. Dr. Gregory Haughton, welcome to Iron Sports.
My pleasure to be here.
First time on Iron Sports?
Yes, it is.
All right, so my producer has a gift for you.
Yeah?
Should have given me already, but afterwards.
All right, all right.
All right, Gregory, there's so much when it comes down to track and field. This is track and field nation. Let's dive right in where recently Usain Bolt, Dr. Usain Bolt as well, he said that many of the youngsters coming through, from what he has seen, are not as motivated as he was coming up, and maybe even yourself, when things were even more harder in your time than even before Usain Bolt. What is your take on this?
I think there's a lot of truth to what he's saying, and that is one of the reasons why I'm here, because when I look at the trend is actually a negative trend where we find that if something is not done, we can run fast, we can jump high, but if something is not done to get that mental focus in the picture, then the fear that you're seeing is talking about in terms of athletes not being motivated enough, it's only going to get worse. So, the sad thing about it is that you teach an athlete how to run fast and how to jump high, but we never see where the mental training is actually integrated into the physical training.
Right. When you were competing for Jamaica, when you left high school, you'd have gone overseas for college, in the U.S. in particular, to continue your track and field career. After that, we found that then came a period in time when a lot of our junior athletes were staying home and training with the MVP racers. Now, from my observation, I've seen where there's, I guess, a situation again where a number of our junior athletes are once again looking overseas to go to college and so on. What do you make of this? Is it better for them to stay at home, or is it better to go overseas and get their college education?
Well, each individual would have to decide that for themselves. For me, I grew up in Seaview Gardens, and I wanted to uplift my family and take them out of poverty. And I know that staying in Jamaica wouldn't be the best decision. I had a big enough purpose to go overseas to get a free education and to provide for my family. And I know it would be hard for me to stay in Jamaica to do that. Now, I think that when you have good consultants, and I had good people in my corner that would give me good advice as to why stay or why go, I think that the athletes need to start having good...
For you, on the collegiate circuit, first of all, in the U.S.?
Well, it was a good thing, because you are able to get some good competition, you're able to develop the right way. I went to Central Arizona, but we were still competing with collegiate athletes at the time. The good thing about it is I didn't feel that pressure. I know some of the young people here, they feel the pressure because they have to go up against some of the best. But when you go to the collegiate system, you can actually plan how you want your future to be.
Yeah. And speaking of that, the current junior athletes, they are now looking to be like a Usain Bolt, to be like a Johan Blake, and those athletes, they would have stayed home. But it's not as easy as it looks, as Usain mentioned as well, because they're all thinking, I'm the next best thing. But what is the mindset you think that is needed? You spoke of having the right people around you, but what would you tell them in terms of having the right mindset? How to think about pursuing a track and field career?
The right mindset is the key, because it was the right mindset that gave me the courage to pick myself up on many occasions. One of the things, and I think this is what Usain is actually saying, that without the strong mind, you won't have a purpose big enough, and you won't be able to sustain some of the negative blow that will come, because the negative blow is a part of your development. So when you have that strong mind, you're able to overcome some of the obstacles. My biggest fear is that I think that some of these young people here that are training to take on the world, I don't think they are mentally strong enough, and it means that when they get punched, they're just going to lay down.
Right.
So this is why I'm here to encourage the MVP and the other companies to think about integrating mental training in your program. I am ready and willing to do the seminars and the live chat to help them to get the athletes to have the right perspective on life. Because when you have the right perspective, it means that your purpose is big enough to keep you going when you get the knockout punch.
Gregory, another thing is, a number of them, they're getting a taste of that early success. In your time, maybe there wasn't that contract, a professional contract put on and ready as soon as you left high school. They're getting the gifts and so on. We find that in the U.S., this comes at the collegiate level more so. But here in Jamaica, at the high school level, how do they deal with having success, too much success, too early?
Well,
where the entire country sees them as the next best thing, and they're spoken of in a hollered way even before they have made it big.
Well, when I was a freshman in college, I was the second fastest Jamaican of all time at the time when I went to Stuttgart and I ran 44.78.
Right.
And the contract opportunities were coming my way, but my purpose was to stay in school and to get that education, because at the end of the day, I know that if I didn't have the academics, because someday you must retire, that I wouldn't be able to be as effective in what I want to do. Like now I can honestly and proudly say that being a doctor is something that I worked hard for. And this is why I would like the athletes to know that if you don't have the right mindset, then you're going to make poor decisions. And when you make poor choices, these choices will follow you for the rest of your life. So you can either do two things. You can either get the mental training that can help you to see things as they should be, or you can get good advisors around you that will give you information and knowledge based on your best interests.
Right. And this upcoming generation now, they are carrying, I think, that added pressure now of filling the boots left by a Bolt, eventually Shelley and Fraser Price on the women's side. What's your advice to them in terms of dealing with these huge expectations and pressures now to ensure that Jamaica stays on top?
Well, you know, I'm a mental coach.
Right.
And I know that some of my athletes, when they worry about expectations, other people's expectation, that is never a good way and it's a heavy burden to carry. One of the things I try to teach, especially in my seminar, is you have to be the best version of yourself. And if you are committed and dedicated and willing to put in the work, then you will be the best you can be.
Right.
Now, Usain Bolt did that. It tells that he had a strong mind and he was able to overcome some of the obstacles and he was able to win so many different medals. I think that others out there may not be as talented, but they do have the ability to win as much medal, maybe more, maybe less. But the only way we're going to get that fix, unless we integrate mental training as a part of the development for track and field in this country.
Yeah. We speak of the athlete. Let's look at those who are around them now, because speaking of air, you did mention that sometimes it's not just the athlete, but those around them who make those decisions, which sometimes end up being poor decisions. In terms of looking at that group around them now, what would you say to them in terms of ensuring that the athlete isn't overhyped, for instance, because we know these days, I mean, sometimes it's more hype than even substance at times. You run a fast time as a junior and, all of a sudden it's expected that you'll go on to even break a world record at the senior level.
Well, this is one of my philosophy, that any system you go in, you need to implement a system within that system. Right. Because the system that you're a part of may not have your best interests at heart. But when you can bring in your own advisors, your own mentors, your own financial advisors, then those individuals can put you in a position where they're giving you good advice so you don't make mistakes. So I'll urge the athlete that mental training is what will help you to put in place your own system, a system that is designed to look out for you and a system that will make you the best version of yourself.
Yeah. And in terms of the mental training that you'll do, is it just at the senior level, or do you are you looking to go into the high schools as well and then speak to some of these junior athletes?
Well,
too?
we're actually starting at the grassroots level.
Right.
I think it's best to start with the primary school
Right.
and slowly work our way into the high school, because the thing about it is if you want the youth to be great, you can't always start with the top. You have to invest where those bad habits are being developed, because once that athlete transfer now into the high school, a lot of damage has been done.
Right.
So what we're doing with our mental training program, we are focusing on the young minds,
Right.
because we feel that if you want a brighter future,
Right.
that is where you start. And we're
Right.
also focusing on the coaches
Right.
who are helping those young minds to develop,
Right.
because they are the ones who are actually putting in some of the foundational work.
Right.
So once you get them to see the big picture, they are able to educate and guide as well the young athletes. So when those athletes reach into the high school level, into the professional level, those bad habits are not so visible. They are ready to achieve their full potential.
Speaking of big picture, my producer has also told me to see the big picture and go to a break. We're speaking with, of course, Jamaican 400-meter great Dr. Gregory Haughton. We're just halfway through at the 200-meter mark, so there's about 200 meters or so to go. So we come back from this break. Soon come.